Ciao, Jack. It's a
Nice
pleasure,
to
man.
meet you, man. How's it going?
Isn't Oh man, everything is great. I love the movie.
Good.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, definitely. Huge fan of horror movies. Huge horror buff, movie buff. And listen, between The Mummy and Midsummer, you
Yeah.
officially became the king of trauma now.
Great. I'm
Is
glad
that
to hear
correct?
it. I'll gladly
Yeah,
accept that title.
yeah, definitely. I didn't say Scream King. I said, king of trauma, which is different, right?
Yeah, a
Which is
little
definitely
different,
different.
little
Yeah,
different.
a little
I got to
different.
get over to
Listen.
Italy and make one of your Giallo movies over there.
Oh, you have to. I got nothing against, cliches in horror movies,
Hmm.
but I like when I see new stuff, or new fresh takes on many different things. Like this one here, like The Mummy. What makes this Mummy movie any different from all the other Mummy movies ever made?
I think, for me, the big thing when I read the script was that I felt rather than, look, I'm a fan of all the legacy of Mummy movies. I love the Boris Karloff movies. I love the Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing movies from Hammer Horror. I grew up with the Brendan Fraser ones. Those movies are a little bit more Indiana Jones adventure movie adjacent. I think this movie has more in common with maybe like The Ring or The Grudge. This is like a vengeful ghost movie, basically. And I felt that it was an interesting take to have a family where the mummy is not identified as a monster in this film. It's a daughter who's gone through a lot of trauma. So rather than the protagonists like trying to run away from or destroy this mummy, they're trying to fix her. They're trying to rehabilitate her and get her back to who she was before. And that's something we haven't seen in the legacy of mummy films before. So that's a really fresh take.
Listen, so in this movie, you go head to head with a mummy.
Mhm.
But if you had to fight 1999's Brendan Fraser mummy, Tap, who would win?
I think that mummy's gonna kick my ass. This one I can deal with a little bit better, but I think, him with the whole control of the storms and the army of dead fucking yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to take that guy.
And listen, I love this fresh new take on the mummy. I always thought that Baba Hotep from Don Coscarelli was such a great
Yeah,
different thing about the context, but I love the way you subvert the rules in this new movie.
yeah. It started with after Evil Dead Rise. Very fortunate, that people really loved that movie, and you get to have great conversations with great collaborators. And myself and James Wan were just talking about projects, and he kind of said to me, "What about the Mummy? What would you think about making a Mummy movie?" And I was like, "It's not something that's particularly on my dance card." He said, "What about trying to make the scariest Mummy movie that's ever been made?" And I went, "Now that's interesting to me." So I went away and started to think about a storyline. And the starting point for me is always about a way into the world. It's not just about how can I make it scary. It was what type of story can I tell? And the breakthrough for me was this concept of mummification for a different purpose, telling a story around that. Because usually we think of pharaohs, kings, queens. What if someone you loved was mummified? And then I asked the question, well, why would that happen? And then it opened up this concept of a mystery. And then once I had this mystery and this story and these elements, then I was able to bring all of my creativity in terms of the fun roller coaster ride horror experience that I want to take you on.
In a fight between your mummy
Yeah,
and 1999's Brendan Fraser mummy, Tap, who's gonna win?
I think Katie, because she would be so sneaky. She's so sneaky. She plays games with whether she is the danger or not. So I think she would win a psychological battle. Absolutely. I think she would win psychological warfare, and I think she's sneaky. She'd come up behind and bite ankles.
I was working with Jason Blum. How did that, shape the whole look of this new movie?
I think part of my want to work with Jason and also with James as well is I knew as producers that they are very, very supportive of your vision. That's what their business is. And you can see it through the success that they've had. It's not by accident that these guys are really successful. They're successful because they back talent. If you back talent, you give yourself the best opportunity. So, for me, the confidence that I always took from Jason and James was the fact that they weren't breathing over my shoulder. They hired me to make a movie because they trusted in how I make movies. So it was a really great affirmation that what I do and the art and the cinema that I want to create is going in the right direction.